This past weekend in Los Angeles, California, the 2026 Los Angeles Pokemon Go Regional Championships were held. Fresh off Tauntaun Batouse's incredible win in Prague with Aegislash, trainers were anxious to learn, was Aegislash a flash in the pan or was it here to stay? And well, at the end of a long weekend of battling, we absolutely got our answer. The Los Angeles Regional Championships were won by one of the most experienced players in the scene, but a player who had yet to capture their first regional championship. That player is Aero. Aero's team featured Aegislash, Diggersby, Dartrix the Owl, Shadow Kanto Ninetales, Tinkaton, and Shadow Feraligatr. And his win not only meant Aegislash has now won back-to-back regional championships, but was also the first ever regional win for Dartrix. In this video, I'm going to be showcasing the Winners Finals and Grand Finals from Los Angeles, starting with the Winners Finals against K-Pine. K-Pine's team consisted of Wigglytuff, Licky, Diggersby, Voltswitch Fortress, Feraligatr, and Malamar. The battlers locked in for game number 1 of this best-of-5 series, and it was a pretty strong lead for K-Pine, leading Quick Attack Diggersby into Shadow Kanto Ninetales. The Ninetales for Aero is rocking Overheat, which means he will have massive neutral damage to apply in this matchup. K-Pine knows Diggersby is extremely bulky, so he's going to no-shield, but pays a very heavy price as Aero safe switches into Dartrix. Dartrix is going to be taking super effective damage from Fire Punch, but Dartrix does have some decent bulk, so it should be able to withstand the onslaught of Fire Punches from the Diggersby. However, Dartrix would be pretty low if it no-shielded both, so Aero no-shields both, but now Dartrix is in farm down range for Licky. Aero farms up to the Brave Bird, he's baiting with the Seed Bomb, K-Pine thinks through his options, K-Pine calls the Seed Bomb bait, and that's a big swing of momentum over to K-Pine. K-Pine tries for the farm down, he doesn't get it, Aero makes the Brave Bird, but misclicks and clicks on the Seed Bomb instead. K-Pine no shields, had that been a Brave Bird, it would have knocked out and denied Licky's energy, but even if the energy was lost, that Feraligatr for K-Pine should still be game winning, as Aero ran a line that was very soft to the Feraligatr, and once the Dartrix had been knocked out, realistically, the Feraligatr is just simply going to be unstoppable. K-Pine knows it, he saves energy on Licky, sends in Feraligatr, sniffs out the full send of the Gigaton Hammer, and this game is over. Aero pivots into the Ninetales, but Ninetales is so far behind on energy. Feraligatr already at the back-to-back Hydro Cannons. Aero does still have 2 shields to work with, but K-Pine is just in a completely winning position. Kanto Ninetales just absolutely drowning under the onslaught of Hydro Cannons. Aero now down 2 shields, farms up well past the Overheat, and goes for the Weather Ball. Even if this Weather Ball bait is shielded, K-Pine will still make the Hydro Cannon on the CMP tie to the Overheat, and Aero knows it. Aero is just forced to fire off the Weather Ball just to try and burn the switch timer, so now he'll have the ability to go for a catch. K-Pine gonna watch for the catch, he overfarms, goes for the Hydro Cannon just for Aero to get the catch anyway, onto that Tinkaton. Tinkaton's healthy enough that K-Pine is going to full charge the Hydro Cannon because this is going to set up a nasty farm down. Feraligatr exits 1 off the Hydro Cannon, in comes the Ninetales, Feraligatr wins charge attack priority, and that is going to be a game 1 win for K-Pine. Aero took the risk running a line ABA weak to the Feraligatr, Feraligatr showed up, and unfortunately it was a bit too much to overcome. The battle is locked in for game number 2, it's a negative lead for Aero, Shadow Feraligatr into Licky. One of the reasons to run Shadow Feraligatr is the Licky matchup, because 2 Hydro Cannons actually take the knockout, whereas the regular Feraligatr will always fall short of picking up the 2-hit KO. Feraligatr lands the Hydro Cannon, that's big damage. Aero gets the catch and sneak, catching the Shadow Ball from Licky onto Diggersby. That is a sensational catch. K-Pine is now going to respond with his own Feraligatr. Feraligatr does have a very dominant matchup against Diggersby, as Hydro Cannon will be able to pick up the 2-hit KO, but the switch timers are misaligned, and that's something that Aero can use to his advantage. It's going to be charge attack priority tie, Hydro Cannon to the Scorching Sands. K-Pine is going to be no-shielding, but Feraligatr will pay a very heavy price. Switch clock coming up soon for Aero. Can he potentially escape this matchup? He's going to farm up, go for the Scorching Sands, but once again lose charge attack priority as he's unable to escape. He's just going to fully sacrifice the Diggersby, and now can look to try and go for an incredibly aggressive farm with the Dartrix. Dartrix going to look for a 1-shield farm down. K-Pine banks energy, sends in the Licky, and that Feraligatr still being around could prove to be very problematic for Aero. Body Slam, no shielded, Dartrix able to withstand that damage. Dartrix gonna overfarm as much as possible, and Aero's hoping that he's pecked it into Seed Bomb range. K-Pine elects to let this go, hoping Licky will hold on, but it cannot, as Seed Bomb will take the knockout. K-Pine has a very healthy Diggersby in the back, and his Diggersby is on Quick Attack, so it will have fast attack pressure in this matchup. Where this gets tricky for Arrow is the fact that Seed Bomb actually doesn't do a lot of super effective damage onto Diggersby. K-Pine knows it, he's gonna nose shield, Diggersby tanks that very comfortably. Arrow farms up to the Brave Bird and baits with the Seed Bomb once again. But K-Pine is always gonna be nose shielding because he knows the energy from Feraligatr is going to do more. Arrow farms up, goes for the catch, but K-Pine reacts. He fires off the Scorching Sands. Arrow thinks he caught the Fire Punch, but no, it's the Scorching Sands, and that's devastating damage. With that read, K-Pine is now in prime position to close out this game and take a 2-0 series lead. Hydro Cannon forces the shield. K-Pine, these quick attacks are adding up, but he doesn't commit to the farm down. Instead, he fires off the Fire Punch. By taking one less quick attack, Feraligatr can now make a Hydro Cannon. K-Pine pivots into his own Feraligatr. He fires off his own Hydro Cannon, but now Arrow has the Hydro Cannon banked. Switch timer's up. He can pivot into the Dartrix. Dartrix is going to look to farm down. It does, and suddenly, out of nowhere, Arrow has won this game. There's a Brave Bird on the Dartrix. There's a Hydro Cannon on the Feraligatr. K-Pine puts up the shield, but there's no way out. Arrow found a way. That was an incredible play by K-Pine to Scorching Sands, anticipating the catch, but Arrow banks charge attacks everywhere, takes the knockout, and equalizes the series. The battlers lock in for game number 3, and it's Dartrix for Arrow into the Malamar for K-Pine. This is a very bait-dependent matchup. If Arrow's able to land a Brave Bird, he's at a really good spot, but if a Seed Bomb gets no-shielded, then Malamar is in control. Malamar strikes first, landing a foul play onto the Dartrix. Arrow's going to be full set of the Brave Bird. K-Pine with a tough call to make. Does he put up the shield? No, he does not. Malamar gets rocked, and there's a simultaneous save switch. Shadow Feraligatr into the regular. Both Feraligatr's Hydro Cannon immediately. K-Pine has the higher attack stat, so he's going to be winning charge attack priority. While Hydro Cannon does not knock out, it does do some pretty significant resistant damage. K-Pine will put up the shield, confident in the knowledge that he can either get the shield back or pressure a knockout since he does win charge attack priority. So K-Pine is going to fire off his Hydro Cannon again as soon as he gets there. Arrow will decide to put up the shield because Arrow has brought Aegislash in the back as his final Pokemon. He's really trying to get shields down because that is exactly where Aegislash wants to be. But K-Pine won't fall for it. He's not going to be shielding. There's a pivot into Dartrix, answered with the Diggersby. K-Pine knows he will lose his charge attack priority tie, so he won't Fire Punch right away. Instead, he's more than happy just to take the Seed Bomb and look to overfarm as much as possible before securing the knockout. So K-Pine will do just that, farming up to the back-to-back Fire Punches. Arrow now has the energy for a Seed Bomb, so if he wants, he can put up the shield and win charge attack priority. K-Pine knows he doesn't win it, so he's not going to fall for it, but will he put up the final Protect shield? This Seed Bomb will get the Diggersby pretty low. Diggersby does put up the shield, and just like that, Arrow has the shields down scenario that Aegislash is always looking for. Arrow's going to be waiting down the timer. It's time. In comes Aegislash. K-Pine still has all 3 Pokemon left alive. Scorching Sands will connect. Aegislash tanks that very comfortably. Scorching Sands does actually get the attack drop. Farming up, getting closer and closer to a move. Malamar able to make the foul play, but Arrow gets the catch as he sends in the Feraligatr. K-Pine is banked energy, but he could be in quite a bit of trouble as Aegislash gets the full farm down. Now there's only 2 Pokemon left alive, and they are both in range of getting knocked out with a Gyro Ball. K-Pine waits down the timer hits 0, he sends in the Diggersby, knowing that his Scorching Sands would never do nearly enough damage here. Gyro Ball is easily going to be knocking out the Diggersby. All K-Pine has left is a Feraligatr that is completely energy dry. Aegislash takes 1 knockout. It's immediately followed by taking the 2nd knockout onto Feraligatr. Aegislash picking right back up where it left off in Prague, taking knockouts left and right, and Arrow is 1 win away from the Grand Finals. The battlers lock in for game number 4, and it's a very familiar lead, Shadow Feraligatr into Licky Licky. This time, Arrow does not have a Diggersby in the back to catch a Shadow Ball on. Instead, he's brought Dartrix and the Kanto Ninetales. Unfortunately for Arrow, the Shadow Kanto Ninetales has absolutely no play into K-Pine's entire line of 3. K-Pine has the Feraligatr and the Diggersby in the back, so the Dartrix is going to have to do some very heavy lifting as the Ninetales doesn't really have any targets. Arrow gonna no-shield the first. A good Shadow Feraligatr can survive the 2nd Body Slam here. Arrow's gonna be no-shielding. Body Slam takes the knockout. No! Feraligatr does not survive. And now Arrow is in some very serious trouble. The Licky Licky is very healthy. K-Pine banks energy. He save switches into Feraligatr. Arrow responds with the Dartrix, but unfortunately he's too slow on the counter switch. This allows Feraligatr to make it to the Ice Beam on charge attack priority to the Seed Bomb. K-Pine, he's going to go for the Hydro Cannon bait. That's going to save him energy, and that means that he will once again be able to go for the CMP tie, Ice Beam to the Seed Bomb. Dartrix able to get the shield back, but unfortunately, always being this far behind on energy means that Dartrix is going to be in for a very tough time. Capine this time going to be full sending, guaranteeing the final protect shield, and now Arrow looks to be in some pretty serious trouble. Capine can just save a shield for his Diggersby in the back. Feraligatr has absolutely done its job. Licky will do very well into the Dartrix, and the Diggersby is going to do a very nice job into the Kanto Ninetales. The Ninetales has such an energy head start, but the bulk of Diggersby is just absolutely absurd. No shield from Capine, it's just going to be the Weather Ball as Diggersby closes in on that Scorching Sands. Diggersby will put up the Protect Shield. Arrow gonna go for the bait once again. Arrow should make the Weather Ball on charge attack priority, but Capine is not gonna throw just yet. Capine wants some residual energy. So Capine more than happy just to let a Weather Ball land. He knows the switch clock is not up just yet, so he can farm up, fire off the Scorching Sands right before the next Weather Ball, and this is going to be securing the knockout. Capine should have a Shadow Ball on the Licky, as well as a Fire Punch loaded on the Diggersby, so this game is over. Arrow took a gamble, bringing back the Ninetales. Ninetales did not find the Wigglytuff, nor did it find the Fortress, and the Ninetales really could not do much for Arrow. Shadow Ball knocks out the Dartrix, and it all comes down to one final game in the Winners Finals. The Battlers lock in for the decisive game number 5. It's a dominant lead win for Arrow. Diggersby into Licky. Instant save switch into Feraligatr for Capine. That's going to be answered with the Dartrix from Arrow. Arrow, unfortunately, did do some fast moves before switching out, and that means once again he is behind on energy in this matchup. Capine baits once. If Capine ends up baiting twice, this could get very bad for Arrow very, very quickly. Arrow builds up to the back-to-back seed bombs. Capine knows he's had a pretty significant energy advantage here. Capine reaches the Ice Beam. He's gonna double bait, and now Arrow is guaranteed to lose this mid-game matchup. Dartrix loses charge stack priority to this Feraligatr, so Dartrix will be able to get the double up here momentarily, but when it does, it's going to get knocked out of the sky by a double super effective Ice Beam. Arrow knows he's in trouble. Arrow saves the Seed Bomb and gets a catch of the Ice Beam onto Tinkaton. Great recovery there from Arrow. Ice Beam not really going to be doing much of anything, as Capine reveals he has another normal type in the back as Diggersby enters the fray. In this matchup, Quick Attack on Diggersby actually betrays Capine a little bit because he doesn't have any kind of meaningful fast move pressure. Gigaton Hammer hits for monster damage onto the Diggersby. Diggersby can connect for super effective damage with the Scorching Sands, but Scorching Sands will be unable to set up a farm down because the Quick Attacks are very heavily resisted. Arrow reaching for the Gigaton Hammer. He's unable to get there. Fire Punch will take the knockout, but he still has a very healthy Dartrix, and that Dartrix is going to be a pretty big problem for Capine. Arrow going to be waiting down the switch clock. When the timer hits 0, he's going to be sending in Diggersby. Capine instantly sends in Licky, and while this is a pretty poor matchup for Licky, Capine is just trying to win this game via a war of attrition. Capine still has all 3 Pokemon left alive, and has a decent amount of health on the other 2 remaining as well. So even though Body Slam is never going to do a lot of damage, Capine is just trying to slowly chip away at the Diggersby, knowing that if you throw enough Body Slams at this Diggersby is really going to start to feel the pressure. As for Arrow, Arrow's always going to try and have some residual energy, so if Capine ever pivots back into the Feraligatr, then Feraligatr will always be outpaced. Dartrix for Arrow also has a Seed Bomb loaded, and that could threaten a knockout on any of the back 2 Pokemon. Licky makes a Body Slam. There's the switch into Feraligatr. Feraligatr racing to the Hydro Cannon, unable to get there as Arrow will fire off the Seed Bomb. But Capine banked energy. He has energy stored on that Licky, so now he can look to bring back in the Licky and try and knock the Dartrix out of the sky. Arrow should be 1 off of a Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb will come very close to knocking out. No, he's 2 off the Seed Bomb. He's unable to get there. This Shadow Ball is going to be securing the knockout. Dartrix loses the energy, and that could be bad news for Arrow. Now the game comes down to this. Who has more residual energy on their Diggersby? Fire Punch will knock out the Licky. It's going to be a race, and it looks like Arrow has slightly more energy. Capine going for the Hail Mary Win Con. He's going for the Scorching Sands. It will not knock out, but he's going to try and fish for a debuff. Scorching Sands lands. Is there a debuff? No, there is not, and Arrow has done it. Back-to-back Fire Punches locked and loaded. That is going to secure the game for him. An incredibly hard-fought best-of-5 series going all the way to game number 5, but it's Arrow taking it 3-2. He's on to the Grand Finals. Arrow's opponent in Grand Finals is Elite, a 3-time regional champion, running a unique team built around Shadow Galarian Weezing. To round out the team, he has Quagsire, Galarian Corsola, Licky, Togekiss, and Feraligatr. So this is a grand finals with 11 unique Pokemon. The battlers lock in for game number 1, and it's a very strong lead for Elite as he leads Togekiss into the Shadow Feraligatr. Togekiss has a very strong matchup in a Feraligatr because it wins Charge Attack priority. So the pacing is identical, but Togekiss will always win Charge Attack priority, and it can peg the Feraligatr into range where Aura Sphere will take the knockout. As for Arrow has brought Aegislash and Dartrix in the back, but unfortunately, Aegislash would really like to see the Togekiss that is on the lead. Arrow makes a nice catch, able to save energy on the Feraligatr and catch the Aura Sphere onto Aegislash, where it's going to be doing basically no damage. But now Elite can send in the Feraligatr, and Feraligatr is just going to start to slowly chip away more and more at the Aegislash. Aegislash in its shield form uses a modified version of Psycho Cut called Charging, which instead of generating 9 energy over 2 turns, generates 6 energy over 2 turns. This means that even though Aegislash in its shield form basically takes no damage from anything, it is very slow when it comes to energy generation. Arrow can't let Elite double up, he fires off the Shadow Ball, but Elite puts up the shield. The Shadow Claw will register onto the Glassy Blade form, and now Elite will be able to instantly undertap the Hydro Cannon. Arrow knows he's getting outpaced, he has to just let the Aegislash go, and trust in the fact that Shadow Feraligatr with a Hydro Cannon and Dartrix will be able to close out the game. Arrow sends out Dartrix, but it's so far behind on energy versus the Feraligatr. Elite farms up to the Ice Beam. He goes for the Hydro Cannon bait. It gets the shield. Arrow now has to watch for a catch. Arrow farms up, anticipates the catch onto Togekiss. He tries to snipe with the Hydro Cannon, but Elite stayed on the field. An over prediction from Arrow, and it looks like that may have just cost him this game, as now his Feraligatr is getting knocked out by the Hydro Cannon. The Togekiss is still around, and there's just simply too much work for that Dartrix to do in the endgame. Back in comes the Dartrix, forced to fire off energy, as even a Hydro Cannon landing would be too much. But Elite still has a very healthy Togekiss, still has an entirely healthy Licky, and Elite will be taking this game number 1 win. Elite is going to get as much peck damage as he possibly can. Arrow fires off the Brave Bird. He has to hope that it's Quagsire in the back. That is his only 1 win condition, but it's not. It's Licky. Arrow says, well played. Licky makes the body slam. That's going to be a game 1 win for Elite. A close game. Arrow was on the defensive for most of it. Tried to make a hard read of a Togekiss switch in. Elite stayed on the field, and that gave Elite the win. The battlers lock in for game number 2, and it's Shadow Kanto Ninetales for Arrow into the Togekiss for Elite once again. Elite's going to farm up, try for a catch on a Feraligatr. He is unsuccessful, and Feraligatr is going to be swiftly answered with Dartrix. Dartrix makes the Seed Bomb before the Ice Beam is ready. A faster switch in the Feraligatr-Dartrix matchup means that Arrow will always be able to outpace. This means that Elite realistically can only ever win the matchup if Arrow decides just to take a shield advantage. Arrow gonna put up the shield as Elite full sends the Ice Beam, hoping for the nose shield. Arrow can now overfarm quite significantly, and Seed Bomb will threaten a KO. But Elite's gonna be doubling down. He wants to try and make a play for a switch advantage. There is a ton of energy available on the Ninetales, and that's what Arrow is hoping is going to win him this game. Arrow no shields, calling the Hydro Cannon, Ice Beam double super effective, washes away the Dartrix, and Arrow's gonna be sending in his own Feraligatr. Elite gonna fire off Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon really not gonna do much. Arrow's gonna be holding on to that Final Protect shield, as he knows he needs the Shadow Kanto Ninetales to try and sweep. Elite pivots into the Togekiss. There's a simultaneous switch. Togekiss into the Ninetales. Togekiss launches Aura Sphere. Shield comes up from the Ninetales. Ninetales does not want to debuff its attack stat just yet, so instead we'll go for the double Weather Ball. Weather Ball is going to be putting a serious dent onto the Togekiss. Arrow farms up, but he accidentally overfarms too much and plays to a CMP tie that he does not win. Aura Sphere is going to land. Kanto Ninetales gets KO'd, and unfortunately that is going to be game over. Feraligatr unable to get the farm down. Elite now up 2 games to 0. He is 1 win away from a bracket reset and forcing a fresh best of 5. Battlers lock in for game number 3. It's a good lead for Arrow, as he's going to be leading Dartrix into Feraligatr. Elite throws a Shadow Claw, safe switches into Togekiss. That's going to be answered with Tinkaton. This is a Pokemon that Arrow has yet to bring to the series so far. Tinkaton farms up to the Gigaton Hammer, going to go for a Bulldoze bait. Elite fires off the Aura Sphere on charge attack priority, and Elite now has a very big call to make. Does he try and call the bait? No, he puts up the shield. This bait will help Tinkaton as it tries to race to a Gigaton Hammer, and Tinkaton is still outside of Aura Sphere range. That's the reason why Elite is not going to fire off any energy yet, and instead is just going to double shield and farm to the point where Aura Sphere should hopefully actually take the knockout. As for Arrow, this so far has worked out pretty great. he is going to be losing Tinkaton, but he was able to generate a 2-0 shield advantage. Aura Sphere is going to land, Tinkaton barely hangs on, Togekiss able to get the peck down, and Arrow's going to bring back in the Dartrix. Back-to-back Psyshocks available for Togekiss, but Psyshock really does not do much to Dartrix. Dartrix is a pretty bulky mon. Arrow doesn't want to have to fire off a Brave Bird here, so instead he's just going to overfarm, put up the shield, and try and farm Togekiss into Seed Bomb range. Psyshock will be shielded. Dartrix going to farm to the absolute max, go for the Seed Bomb, but Elite reads him like a book and gets the Seed Bomb catch onto Licky. Elite has preserved Togekiss very close to a charge attack, but now Arrow has the reveal. It's Diggersby in the back. There's a ton of Dartrix energy stored, which is very good for Arrow, and Arrow is able to get the Scorching Sands before Elite can even make a Body Slam. Scorching Sands is going to land, that's big damage, no debuff comes through, but Arrow's still very much in the driver's seat of this one. While Dartrix does not have a lot of HP remaining, it has so much energy banked. With that and a shield, it's going to be very difficult for Elite to actually knock out the Dartrix. Elite just spams out Body Slam after Body Slam, desperately trying to burn the switch timer. Switch clocks up, in comes Togekiss, and it wins charge attack priority over the Diggersby. Aura Sphere will hit for big super effective damage. Arrow no shields, Diggersby survives, and the bulk of Diggersby is just absolutely incredible. That is going to be the end of Togekiss for Elite. Arrow now very, very low, but Elite has absolutely no fast attack pressure into the Diggersby. He has Rollout, which is single resisted, and Shadow Claw, which is double resisted. In comes Feraligatr. Feraligatr trying to get there, not gonna make it. Scorching Sands is reached, and this should put him firmly into Seed Bomb range. Scorching Sands is gonna land. There's the combination play. In comes Dartrix, and that is going to be a Game 3 win for Arrow. So Arrow avoids the sweep. Seed Bomb takes the knockout. In comes Licky. Licky tries for the farm down, and it's just simply never gonna get there. The Dartrix was low, but not low enough. Seed Bomb number 2 knocks out the Licky, and Arrow forces a game number 4. The battlers lock in for game number 4, and it's a bad lead for Arrow. Aegislash into Feraligatr. Instant save switch into Dartrix. Elite is going to be answering with the Togekiss to ensure that Togekiss is kept as far away from that Aegislash as humanly possible. Dartrix builds up to the Brave Bird, baits with the Seed Bomb. Elite does end up putting up the shield, so Elite does get baited. These pecks honestly not doing much to Dartrix. Arrow farms up to the Brave Bird. Elite's going to be winning charge attack priority, and Arrow no shields. He thinks this does not knock out. Psyshock into the Dartrix. Dartrix survives. What a call by Arrow. This is the Brave Bird. It's guaranteed to knock out. Elite puts up the shield, but he has just given Aegislash a 2-0 shield advantage. If there is one Pokemon in the game that you cannot give a 2-0 shield advantage to, it is this Pokemon right here, Aegislash. Elite banks 2 Aura Spheres, sends in Feraligatr, but he is in so much trouble. Hydro Cannon lands, that's not going to do much. Arrow undertaps the Shadow Ball, and this is going to be picking up the one-hit knockout, knocking out the Feraligatr. You can instantly tell from the top left that Feraligatr has been KO'd. Only 2 Pokemon remain for Elite. Elite has all the energy he could ever ask for on the Kiss, but unfortunately, that energy does basically nothing into the Aegislash. In comes Togekiss, he throws 2 Pecks and the Aura Sphere, but that gives 27 free energy over to the Aegislash. Aegislash shields now switching back into the shield form. This is going to be trouble. Elite is going to bank the energy, get the catch of the Gyro Ball onto Licky, but unfortunately, Licky is going to get outpaced. This Gyro Ball is going to hit for devastating damage. Licky did not sneak there. It is completely energy dry. Licky needs a Shadow Ball to do any kind of meaningful damage. Aegislash is going to make the Gyro Ball winning charge attack priority. Aegislash has taken 1 knockout. It's on its way to taking a 2nd knockout. And as Elite brings in the Togekiss, his only hope is to try and peck down. The game pauses for a second. Elite tries to go for the peck down. He cannot get there. And Aegislash gets all 3 knockouts, brutally sweeping an entire team as Arrow forces a winner-take-all game number 5. The battlers lock in for game number 5 of the Grand Finals, and it's a battle of fairy types. Tinkaton for Arrow into Togekiss. Arrow's rocketed an ABA Steel strategy, confident that his Dartrix has scared off the Mud Bomb Quagsire. Elite's gonna opt out of the matchup, throwing 7 Pecks and catching Tinkaton onto the Feraligatr, but this sets up the Dartrix. Arrow gets Dartrix on the field, Feraligatr racing for an Ice Beam, but it's never gonna get there. Dartrix able to outpace, and Elite knows he can't really afford to give up shields in case it is that Aegislash in the back. In Game 4, he went down 2 shields to 0, and the Aegislash was just simply unbeatable. Back in comes Togekiss. It is so much energy, but it's going to have to use it all here because the Dartrix is able to shake off that Psyshock damage like it's nothing. Dartrix reaching for the Brave Bird, unable to get there. And now Arrow has the reveal. He's not bringing in Tinkaton. Instead, he's bringing in Aegislash. Elite banks at Aura Sphere, sends in Licky Licky. It's answered with the Tinkaton, and the endgame is set. Elite's banked Aura Sphere, however, is only valuable if it lands onto the Tinkaton. If it lands onto the Aegislash, Aegislash is able to heavily resist that Aura Sphere, so it's going to be doing basically nothing. Arrow builds up to Gigaton. He goes for the Bulldoze bait, and Elite falls for the bait as Arrow's able to get the shield. Will Bulldoze get the debuff? Yes, it will. Arrow reaching for Gigaton. He can't quite get there as Elite makes Shadow Ball number 2. Arrow forced the match shields. Switch timer will be coming up pretty soon for Elite. Arrow has to watch for the catch. Arrow just fires off Gigaton. Elite gonna be double shielding. Shields are down. The stage is set for Aegislash. Arrow gonna keep farming as Licky Licky is gonna farm past. Arrow farms up, predicting the CMP sack swap, and he gets the catch of the Aura Sphere onto Aegislash. In game number 1 of the grand finals, he made that prediction and it backfired, but in game number 5, he makes it and it will win him this game. You can see the emotion. He realizes he has won. There is nothing Togekiss can do. Aura Sphere after Aura Sphere. The damage does not matter as Arrow makes the back-to-back Gyro Balls. Gyro Ball is super effective damage. Aegislash switches into the Blade form. It's going to be easily picking up the knockout onto the Togekiss. Back in comes Licky Licky, and there is the Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball damage will be devastating onto Licky Licky. Gyro Ball lands. Licky Licky survives just for the combination play with Tinkaton's Gigaton Hammer. And you can see how much it means to Arrow. The emotions are flowing, and Arrow is the Los Angeles Regional Champion. What a moment, what a player, and what a team. For the second regional in a row, Aegislash has won, cementing its status as one of this meta's best Pokemon. One thing that I personally very much enjoy about Aegislash is the unorthodox Pokemon that can be paired with it to unleash its potential. In Prague, it was Tauntaun with the Shadow Hydreigon. In Los Angeles, it was Arrow with the Dartrix. Dartrix's ability to pressure shields off of opponents set up the nastiest Aegislash sweep the competitive scene has ever seen. Massive congratulations to Arrow. Arrow had previously been a runner-up at regionals, gotten so close, but just fell short, and he finally gets his moment as he claims his first regional championship. Thank you so much for watching today's video. My name is Home Slice Henry, and this is More Slice Henry, a channel where I cover content primarily related to the championship series. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and I'll see you guys next week.